Here's a quote from The Rich and Famous. "The truth is, there is a certain brand of hopelessness that exists in people who have it all but lack joy." This is Chris Pratt, famous for his roles in Parks and Rec and Guardians of the Galaxy. He was speaking about a certain compassion he has for the rich and famous. He says that Hollywood is a place where they build up idols, build up icons, and then destroy them. And the game is how long can you hang on before you get destroyed. And so he says many people scoff at being compassionate to the rich because they have everything, but he, on the inside, sees that there is a certain brand of hopelessness that exists in people who have it all but lack joy. Having it all but not having joy. Pratt says, at least, if you have nothing, there's hope. Because that next ticket you could get, and then you're free sailing. At least if you have nothing, there's hope of something. But if you have it all and still lack joy, there's a certain brand of hopelessness. Why? He says, because how about you get everything you want and then realize that actually you're incapable of being happy? That's why he says you see people lose their minds all the time in his business. Because there's a certain brand of hopelessness that exists in people who have it all but still lack joy. This brand of hopelessness exists not only in the rich and the famous, but in many modern Americans who have much and enjoy very little. Who have so much but enjoy so little of it. This exists, if we're honest, in us. Who have much and yet enjoy so little of it. Truly enjoy so little of it. To have much and to enjoy little is a terrible thing. And this truth was recognized not by Chris Pratt, but by a wisdom preacher thousands of years ago in the book of Ecclesiastes. To have much and to enjoy little is a terrible thing. We'll see that this morning. The preacher in Ecclesiastes surveys the whole earth and finds that there's a terrible thing, a grievous evil, a heavy weight on the soul of mankind, and it's this: riches don't guarantee joy. And so this is a heaviness on the soul of mankind, that riches don't guarantee joy. Yet, this is not all that he finds. This is not all that he finds. Through observing the world, he finds that riches don't guarantee joy. Through his eyes, he sees this. But by faith, he sees something further. That God can empower us with joy. Through observation, he sees something. Riches don't guarantee joy, but by faith, he sees something else. God can empower you with joy. And so this is your main thing this morning. You need God's power to enjoy good. Hopefully, the 7-year-old can get that. The 70-year-old still needs to hear it. You need God's power to enjoy good. The flip side of that is you can have good and not enjoy it. It's a terrible thing. We'll see both of these in our passage today. Ecclesiastes 5, and Ecclesiastes 6. God's word says, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. And what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes? Sweet is the sleep of a laborer, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. There is a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt, and those riches were lost in a bad venture. And he is the father of a son, but he has nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again, naked as he came, and shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Just as he came, so he shall go, and what gain is there to him who toils for the wind?" Moreover, all his days he eats in darkness, in much vexation and sickness and anger. Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of his life that God has given him, for this is his lot. Everyone to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, to accept his lot, to rejoice in his toil, this is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. There is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy on mankind, a man to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all that he desires, yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity. It is a grievous evil. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he also has no barrier, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. For it comes in vanity and goes in darkness, and in darkness its name is covered. Moreover, it has not seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he. Even though he should live 1,000 years twice over, yet enjoy no good. Do not all go to the one place? All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage has the wise man over the fool? And what does the poor man have who knows how to conduct himself before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. This also is vanity and a striving after the wind. We have two beefy bookends about the grievous evil and one sweet, bright paragraph about the good of contentment. Also that we can see you, I, we need God's power to enjoy good. I want you to see this through 4 steps. We'll make 4 steps today. We're going to see what's evil. We're going to see what's good. We're going to hear about power for contentment and about barriers to contentment. See evil, see good, power for contentment, barriers to contentment. Your first step is that we have to see the evil. There's a reason that the evil nature comes before and after the good. We need to see it. And so the preacher says repeatedly, chapter 5, verse 13, there's an evil that makes you grieve, like you're at a funeral. There's a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt. Don't you want to get riches for your good? Isn't that what it seems will happen? You gain riches because that's good, but the preacher says, no, I've seen an evil under the sun. Riches are kept and it hurts the owner. And those riches were lost in a bad venture. Chapter 5, verse 15 through 16. As he came from his mother's womb, so he shall go again. Naked as he came, taking nothing for his toil. This also is a grievous evil. The preacher says it's evil that you can work your entire life to get stuff and take nothing with you. Verse 1 through 2 of chapter 6. There is an evil that lies heavy. A heavy evil. A man who has wealth and possessions from God so that he lacks no thing. He has everything his eyes desire, yet God does not give him the power to enjoy those things. There's a grievous evil, an evil that makes you grieve. There's a heavy evil. It feels like a burden, and it's this. You can have everything without the power to enjoy it. The preacher wants us to reflect on how we can possess so much and enjoy so little. And this reality, maybe you've heard people say before, you can't take it with you when you go. or there's no U-Hauls behind the hearse. And generally, those seem to be encouragements. Use it while you got it. You can't take it with you when you go. But the preacher doesn't see this as an encouraging reality. He sees that you can live and work all your life to get stuff and then die empty-handed as a thing that makes your gut churn. This is the grievous evil, and we ought to ask why. If that's the evil, we have much and enjoy little, we ought to ask, why do we have much and enjoy little? Or another question, why do we not enjoy the good that we have? The preacher gives us answers. Answer number 1, we love it too much. Chapter 5, verse 10, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money. If you cherish something as the solution to your appetite, the solution, money, wisdom, wealth, power, reputation, you can have it all and you won't be satisfied because you love it too much. Why else do we not enjoy what we have? Another answers, our possessions that we gain for comfort actually end up frustrating us. Chapter 5, verses 11 through 12. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. Charles Barkley, famous NBA player and television host, said that one of the first pieces of advice he got when he became rich was, don't help your family. There's some badness in this, but here's the point. He said, no matter how many times you help family and friends that you grew up with, they will always be mad the first time you say no. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. Many an athlete and musician has gone broke from too many mouths eating their goods. And so the goods you think will comfort you end up in frustration. Chapter 5, verse 17, there is much to eat, but actually, the rich person eats in darkness and frustration and sickness and anger. Just having food to eat doesn't make you enjoy eating. The rich person, contrasted in verse 12 to the day laborer. You have someone who has more than they ever need and someone who has enough for today. And who's happier, the preacher says? Well, sweet is the sleep of the laborer. He's got just enough, and so he goes to bed satisfied. But the full belly of the rich, the full belly of the rich will not let him sleep. More possessions, more worry. More possessions, more frustration. Why else do we not enjoy what we have? We lose our stuff. We lose it. Naked come, naked go, is what the preachers see. You come in with nothing, you leave with the same amount of stuff. And in between, you work all your life to get stuff together, but you have no more when you leave than when you came. Naked come, naked go. There is no gain. You can't work hard enough to get something that you get to take with you when you die. Money, legacy, intelligence, morality, all of these good things, if they are the thing you're trying to gain for satisfaction or security, you will lose them when you die. And with them, your satisfaction and security. This idea, verse 14, of a bad venture, we might read that and say, oh, well, there was one foolish rich man who made a bad business deal and he lost his money. I'll just not be like him. I'll just be a wise rich man and never invest poorly. But actually, the preacher is saying that this rich person's investment, his business, was living his life for gain. His whole life was a bad investment. Why? Because he stored up treasures hoping to find everlasting good in them. And he lost it in a bad investment. So there are a number of reasons to explain this grievous evil. We can have goods but not enjoy them because we love them too much, because they cause us to be frustrated, because we eventually lose them all. But there is a last and most important reason that we can have so much good and enjoy so little of it. A man to whom, verse 2, God has given wealth and possessions and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all that he desires. Yet, God does not give him power to enjoy them. There is nothing his eyes see that he cannot have, but what he does not have is the ability to enjoy it. And this is a heavy weight on the soul of mankind. He lacks nothing he desires except for the ability to enjoy what he does not lack. The reason above all reasons that any of us can live in this world and have so much yet enjoy so little is because we may have wealth and possessions and honor and not have the power to see the good in them. The preacher's in a pretty good position to know this great evil. We've read earlier in Ecclesiastes that he has not kept anything from himself. Any work, any pleasure, any power, anything his eyes saw, he got. And he tasted that particular brand of hopelessness that comes when you have it all but lack joy in it. And so he's in a good position to feel the grievous evil that's upon mankind. And he's seen that a man can have, because he did have, a man can have wealth, a man can have stuff, a man can have honor, respect, and not have from God the power he needs to enjoy it. Before we move on, I'll just pose a question to convince any of us that think it's too lofty to say the only way we can enjoy goods in this world is if God gives us the power to enjoy them. I would just ask you the question, why can I be face to face with a good thing and still not enjoy it? Why can we do that daily, regularly, be face to face? Why can you and I know we should be more grateful? I mean, part of being a Christian is gratitude, right? We should be grateful. Give thanks to the Lord, for his steadfast love endures forever. And yet, you don't. Or maybe you even fool around on social media and you see that brain science has shown you that gratitude can rewire your brain. And you think, that'd be pretty nice. I don't really like the current wiring of my brain, so it'd be helpful if it was rewired, and then yet you don't. How can you and I know that we ought to be, we should be, even there are benefits to being grateful, to seeing what's good in front of us, and yet our lives are not marked by that? Could it be that we have felt part of the grievous evil under the sun, that a man can have good things but not see the good in them, unless the man have the power of God? So we've seen an evil. You can have so much and enjoy so little, and we've seen the main reason. If you do not have power from God, you cannot see the good in the good things. So we've seen evil, now let's, step 2, see good. Step 2, see good. Smack dab in the middle of these beefy bookends about the grievous evil is this bright light. It's like Friday, when after 2 days of smoke and haze, we saw a blue sky. There was brightness for the first time in a while. And that brightness was brighter because of the smoke. This is what's happening in 5:18 through 20, when the preacher says, "Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, and to accept his lot, and to rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For the man will not much remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart." What a holy occupation. Something is different here. The rich man has much to eat, but he eats in frustration and anger. This man has much to eat, but eats in joy. What's the difference? Is it one person has a different personality type? One person has a sunnier disposition. One person sees the silver linings. The difference between 5:18 through 20 and 6:1 through 2 is power, God's power. The difference is not the amount of wealth or possessions or honor. The difference is whether or not God has given a man or woman the ability, the power to enjoy. How does one find enjoyment? A few tasks to understand that God has given him the few days of his life, to accept his lot. We'll talk about that word lot in a second. To rejoice in his toil. There are many negative aspects of work, but work is not negative. We were made to work, and so the person who finds joy is going to rejoice in their work. Accept the lot, rejoice in the toil, and receive power from God. What becomes clear in this paragraph is what we've started to see throughout the book, which is there is no lasting gain from many things in this world, but there is pleasure or reward in them. Chapter 2, verse 10 through 11, he built gardens, parks, MTV Cribs Paradise, remember? And he says, there's no gain here, but there was reward in the toil. Once we realize that the things we do not build us a lasting paradise, do not build us the lasting security or soul-level satisfaction that we want from them, once we give that up, we realize there is actually great pleasure in them themselves. What we find in Ecclesiastes is that enjoyment is the reward. Enjoyment rather than gain is the reward. Here's a bit of a discussion on that. The word lot in verse 18 means something like portion. If you own a home, it is on a lot. That is your portion of land. If you sit down to dinner, you have food on your plate. That is your portion of food. Someone else has their portion. You have your portion. And the preacher is saying that the key to life is to accept your lot, to accept your portion. To say, this portion is mine and not that portion. Why this matters is you and I cannot enjoy a portion we don't have. Once again, you sit down to dinner. I cannot enjoy your portion of food without making it my portion. I cannot enjoy your lot that your house lives on. I have my own lot. I cannot enjoy a future portion of food. If I'm sitting down for this portion of food, or I'm sitting down in this lot of my house, and all I think about is a future portion, a future lot, I cannot actually enjoy that because I don't have it. It's future. It's not in my possession. It's not my portion. What Ecclesiastes is helping us drill down on is if we spend our lives thinking about a portion we do not have, we will not enjoy the portion we do have. And even further, you cannot enjoy a portion you don't have. So put it this way. A portion you don't have cannot bring you joy, but it can take your joy. A portion you do not have cannot give you joy, you can't enjoy it, but it can take your joy as your eyes lift off of what you do have onto what you don't have. And so the fix, and the author of Ecclesiastes, is to see good, to use God's power to enjoy the things in front of you, you have to actually enjoy the things in front of you. Your lot, your portion, and not someone else's. Ecclesiastes teaches us we need to accept the portion God has given us. We need to know that our days are few and God has given them. We need to know that even the power to enjoy, verse 19, even the power to enjoy wealth and possessions that we have is itself a gift. Because we've already seen the grievous evil. It is not by any means guaranteed that you will have power to enjoy just because you have wealth and possessions. So if you do enjoy, you ought to say, grace of God, I've been given the power to enjoy the portion in front of me. We've talked about power to enjoy. I've thought about substituting the word ability here. Have the ability to enjoy, but I think that puts too much focus on us. Do I have the ability or do you have the ability? Once again, that temperament question. Do you see the silver linings or are you more pessimistic? Are you optimistic? This whole passage is not about your personality or whether or not you naturally can see good things. The emphasis is on God's power to make you see good things. The focus is on God's ability to give us power, not our ability to enjoy. And so, how do you accept your portion in life? How do you rejoice in your work, even if you can't gain anything to take into your coffin? How do you keep from the grievous evil of having so much and enjoying so little? How do you do that? You do that through God's power. Because you need God's power to enjoy good. Even in the wisdom writings, there is a reminder of the supernatural reality of our faith. That the same God who created every molecule in existence through his power, and the same God who worked that power in his beloved Son to take him from dead to dead no longer, risen from the grave, he will work his power in you to save you from your sin, to rip your sin from your heart and to present in you his perfect goodness. And also he will use that power to strengthen you. This is a book about wisely living in life, but it is not absent of divine power. The God who displayed his power in creation, the God who displayed his power in resurrection, his power in you is how you will grow to be more grateful, to enjoy the good things in front of you, to accept your portion, to rejoice in your work, to have not only wealth and possessions, but also the power to enjoy their good. One more turning of this diamond so we can see its light. Verse 20, he will not much remember the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with joy. This word occupied means to busy someone, to keep them busy. Throughout Ecclesiastes, we've heard of unhappy business. It's an unhappy business for the children of man to go about the earth searching for what satisfies. It was an unhappy business for the rich man to lose everything he gained. And now we hear of a happy business. God will busy your heart with joy. I think here of how older saints will say they don't remember the newborn stage. They know it was hard, but they don't remember much those days. And there's an analogy here where contentment, seeing good, does not mean there is no hard in your life. It just means that over the course of your life, God's power will so busy your heart with joy that you won't much remember the days of your life other than the joy that kept you busy. And if this seems too good to be true, it's because it is too good to be true on your own. Many of the things that require God's power are too good to be true on your own. But the promise here is that if we feel the grievous evil and we receive the power of God, there's a reality where even as we move through prosperity and adversity, abundance and need, over the course of our life, God will occupy us, busy us with joy. Man busies himself to grab gain. God busies us to have joy and to see good, because you need God's power to enjoy good. So far, we've seen an evil and we've seen a good. And our last two steps are to talk about contentment, which I'll define as seeing and enjoying good. It's not a different thing than we've already been talking about. But we want to know what contentment is and how God's power gives that to us. And then also, what are unique modern barriers to our contentment? So first, contentment from God. Contentment, as I'm defining it, is seeing good and enjoying it. It's not being oblivious to hard things. It's not shallow optimism. It's the ability, the power from God to see good such that you enjoy it. I remember hearing a brother of mine in a Bible study years ago saying, does contentment just mean I never want anything more? Is that what it means to be content? That you don't want anything to change? If you're content in your marriage, it means neither of you ever grow anymore forever? If you're content in your body, it means you don't want a resurrected body? No, contentment does not mean you want nothing more, for God has put eternity in our hearts such that there is a reality that we can only be satisfied with more, much more, heavenly amounts of more. Contentment does not mean you say, I don't want anything else or anything to change. It means in your current moment, you see good enough to enjoy it. This is what we learn from Ecclesiastes. What he's seen is that there's a rich man who eats frustratedly and another man who eats joyfully because he finds enjoyment, he sees good. Contentment is not wanting less or never wanting more. It is seeing good in your portion. An example of this, chapter 6, verse 6. Even though a man should live 1,000 years twice, yet enjoy no good. So there's one option. You can live 2,000 years, the point being 2 long lives, but never enjoy a thing. Or you can contrast this with the laborer who has just enough but sleeps sweetly because he sees good and has been given power from God to enjoy it. To be content is to receive power from God to see good. And we see a beautiful example of this in the greatest writer in Christian history, the Apostle Paul. Paul's in prison when he writes this, not exactly the circumstance that is ideal. He says, not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound in any and every circumstance. I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Paul's in prison. He's chained. And yet he so often writes, doesn't he, I see that this is good for the growth of the gospel. There's something in Paul's negative circumstance that he's able to see good. We shouldn't believe that means he never wanted to leave prison. There's nothing about his circumstance he wanted to change, but he realizes what we should realize, that contentment, seeing good and enjoying good things, is much more about our heart than the environment in which our heart is. We think far too often that we will be content if our heart gets a new environment rather than if we get a new heart. Paul says he can be content. Why? Because he can do all things through him, Christ, who strengthens him. Again, we shouldn't think Paul was just rosier. That you're a pessimist and Paul was an optimist. So there's no shot for you. The difference between discontentment and contentment primarily is God's power, which means there is hope for you and I who are so frequently discontent. The hope is not that you become a different personality or even that you get different circumstances, but that God changes your heart so that you could say, with Paul, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Or you can say, with the preacher, I have been given power to enjoy. Paul will say elsewhere to his younger student Timothy, "You then, my child, be strengthened by the grace that is in Christ Jesus." Or in another letter to Timothy, "I thank him who has given me strength, Christ Jesus our Lord." Paul regularly gives credit for his abilities to the power of Christ in him. Christ strengthens him. Christ's grace overflows to him. This is not different than the preacher who says the ability to enjoy comes from the power of God. What you might see here in summary is God's grace not only saves you, God's grace strengthens you. God's grace poured into your heart by his Spirit grows you, shapes you, nourishes you, strengthens you. The first step in growing in contentment is realizing and praying as if it's true that the chief fix is God's power in your heart, not a change of circumstance. Because you need God's power to enjoy good. So we've seen good, or we've seen evil, we've seen good. We've reflected on God's power to give us the ability to see good, to be content. And now I want to just highlight a few modern barriers to contentment, to the ability to see and enjoy good. Here's 3 barriers: abundance, options, mobility. 3 things that get in your way of seeing good and enjoying it. So you need not only power from God, but then some practical tips. Once God's given you the power, how do you not get in your own way? How do you not cloud your vision so that you can actually see the good, so that you can enjoy the good? 3 barriers are abundance, options, and mobility. These 3 kind of flow together. Having abundance means we have options. And with mobility, we can move between the options quickly. Abundance means something like we have more goods than we can truly enjoy. We have more goods than we can truly enjoy. We throw food in the trash. We have a hard time picking a show to watch because there's so many options. We can enjoy a gaming system or a television or a phone. We have more goods than we could possibly enjoy in any given day. Abundance. Think of this illustration. You and I have done this too frequently, okay? You sit down with a meal in front of a television by your phone. And you don't enjoy any of the 3 very much at all. Because you shove one pleasure in your mouth while you're distracted with another and hear the sound of a third. And no single one of those pleasures do you fully enjoy because the abundance of pleasures dilutes the whole. You would have been better off to eat your meal in quiet, read your article with focus, and then watch your television show afterwards and actually enjoy the 3. And there is, for the first time in Downtown Mission Church history, I have told you can enjoy a television show. Okay? I do have growth. But the point is that even the things that are pleasures that we could enjoy, we don't enjoy well because there's too many. Abundance. Options. Options mean something like one pleasure is always compared to another we could enjoy. YouTube TV has a multi-view feature where in football season you can watch 4 games at once. Not only does that make you shake a little bit if you tried to do it, it keeps you from enjoying any one game. Because part of the joy of sports is you're being brought along in a story, a narrative of how the game started, and the middle, and the drama, and the tension, and boring parts that give way to exciting parts. But if you're always able to choose another option, you're always one foot out the door of the pleasure you're experiencing, thinking the other door might have something better. And this is not just about YouTube TV, this is about your friendships. This can be as simple as a conversation you have in a room full of conversations, halfway listening to one person as you wonder if there's someone better to talk to. The options you have keep you from enjoying any one option, any one portion. So abundance, options, and then mobility. This really is one of the hallmarks of current society, is the ability to move and choose quickly. If you can easily switch to something better, you never have to enjoy the portion you have. It's so easy to just switch. Sometimes I'll sit down on my off day to watch a stand-up comedian, and if I don't know the stand-up comedian, the first 10 minutes won't be that enjoyable at all because I'm always wondering, should I switch to another? Because I can, because it's easy. But once you settle in and you say, this is my option and I'm not going to move, there's an ability to enjoy. This is true, again, not just with media, but with people. So many of us are 1 foot out the door on significant relationships in our life because there's other options that we might be able to move toward quickly. We do this with jobs, we do this with relationships, we do this with churches, we do this with hobbies, always thinking that the next one will be more contenting for us and we can get there quickly. We think our heart in a new circumstance will be more contented, but we forget that our heart in a new circumstance is still our heart. And without God's power to cause us to see good in the portion that we have, we won't ever see the good, not in the next portion or the future portion. Some of my favorite relationships have gone through multi-year stretches of pain and frustration. And they are so much sweeter today because of it. Had any of us made a quick choice to end that relationship, we would not experience the peaceful contentedness and good in our friendship as we do now. Friends, there are reasons to end relationships, but our culture tells us to do it way too fast. And if we don't push through even significant discomfort in order to see good in the portion we have, we will miss much of the peacefulness and joy of life. The preacher has told us this. We don't get joy from a different portion. We get joy from God's power to help us accept the current portion and to rejoice in it. It's quite challenging, friends, for you and I to see good because we have so much that we could see. That so much has many options and we can move quickly. But if we can take the preacher's ancient wisdom and focus not on the next good or the future good or that person's good, but the good that's in front of us, we can, with God's power, actually enjoy it. Actually linger long enough over it to savor it. You need God's power to enjoy good. It won't just happen. There's a great evil in this world. It's that the rich and famous, we who have abundance, don't just automatically get joy in the cart with the abundance. Yet, with God's power, the one who has just enough can have more joy than the one who possesses the world. And you, friends, can have God's power. God's power is received by faith through grace. God's power not only to save, but also to strengthen us. And as God gives us his power, we learn to linger longer over the good in front of us, rather than fixing our minds with the good that's elsewhere, in a different room, through a different means. I have another 40 minutes. If you just want to talk to me afterwards, I got some really good stuff that I'm not going to give to you right now. I'm going to pray, though.